up, everybody? What is going on? Welcome to Sixers Post Game Live. Today we are reacting to the Sixers' tough loss here, 118-116 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Guys, if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you love the Sixers. Joining me, as always, is Justin at J_Persichetti. What's up, Justin?
What is going on, man? Listen, I'm excited to talk some Sixers basketball, but, man, I really, really wanted the Sixers to come away with this W tonight. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, this is like – I know it's a regular season game, but, like, you know, this is the battle for the East. I wanted the Sixers to come up big, James Harden, Joel Embiid. And sure enough, you had every single ingredient between those two to get you a W, and they fall flat. You look at these two combined. Joel Embiid, 29 points. James Harden, 32 points. I'm going to share my screen here. This is arguably the best Embiid and Harden game we have seen I guess since, oh no, it's not letting me share my screen. What's going on here? Anyway, yeah, that is really weird. Share. Yeah, all right, StreamYard sucks. But anyway, you look at these two were feeding off each other. Joel Embiid had a tough time getting involved in this game. And there was a three-pointer in this game by Joel Embiid. You saw James Harden just turn around and was like pumping him up. And right after that, bam, bam, bam. It was like 7 straight points from Joel Embiid. It was terrific. And sure enough, the second Joel Embiid steps off the court with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, what do you expect here? Giannis versus the Sixers bench, and it was just death row. It was absolutely death row. The Bucks got back into the game as predicted, and it was just a tough loss here. The Sixers were in it at the very end. At the end of the day, some of the Sixers demons that we have talked about again and again and again showed up. It showed its ugly face. Justin, what's your reaction to this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to narrow it down to like a simple reaction to the game. I think in multiple ways you saw reasons they could have lost, whether it be shots not being hit in big moments when they needed to, whether it be Embiid's slow start to the game and kind of having to build back up, the Giannis minutes against Paul Millsap. There's a lot of things that went poorly in this game. But I think it all comes back to me to like sum it all up that this team is not perfectly built around its pieces yet. As much as it is great that the Sixers have James Harden, they have that piece to put next to Joel Embiid, and Maxey has shown glimpses of being that star potential that you really want to see. You do look at it and say, okay, this is what the team is right now. There's not much that you can do at this moment since the trade deadline has passed. So let's see what we can do with what we have, and then come back next season once you can make the moves that you really want to make. So I think there's a lot of things that went wrong here, but realistically, I think what you wanted to see for the future of the team, I think went well. I think Embiid, the fact that he was able to battle back after having a bad game early, I think is a really key thing. The fact that he was shooting terribly in the first half and came back and ended up he was almost 50% if he wasn't 50%. I think that's huge. I think that shows a lot of growth from Embiid. In past seasons, if Embiid had a bad first half, you knew the game was going to be terrible. And the fact that you have a guy, and I know you mentioned this, but Harden able to kind of get Embiid easier buckets throughout the game and get him back in the game and pump him up and keep him interested. I think that was huge. And I think Harden has had his big moments as well. Sucks that they lost the game, but that's going to happen. It's a good team.
Chris Moore says Doc Rivers should be fired. We're going to get into that very soon. SUV Shogun says Joel Embiid has to dunk that ball in that situation. That's why we lost. Dude, we've been here so many times, man. Joel Embiid has the ball in his hands under the rim, doesn't execute. This is why Doc can't coach. Tom says Giannis is better than Embiid. Steven says you have George Niang, hot AF. And you have these piss awful lineups to start the fourth and end the third. It's Groundhog's Day. I fully agree with that. Not so much Niang. I mean, Niang was cold. Niang was cold heading into the fourth.
Yeah.
And sure enough, hit 2 major 3-pointers that got them into this game. I think a 1-point game. Boston Superfan says that Sixers, I thought, went away from the Harden and Embiid pick and roll. That was killing the Bucks for a good chunk of the third. So, welcome to Sixers life, Boston.
I do want to talk about. I do want to talk about that though, and I feel like I don't think they go away from that as much as the defense takes that away at times, because what teams do is instead of running man, what like they do when you're running a pick and roll against man, obviously it's easier to pick that apart. But when a team switches a lot, like how the Bucks do and are very capable of doing, and have one of the best perimeter defenders in the last decade in Drew Holiday, as well as a guy like Brook Lopez and Giannis, who are two of the best. Let's be honest, like they're both. They have a good defensive scheme.
James Harden was cooking Drew Holiday tonight. For the majority, until that three-pointer Drew made late in the fourth quarter, Drew was nothing in this game.
I don't think you can, like, I don't think I'll agree with the fact that he was nothing. I think he got buckets when he needed to on mismatches. I will say Drew Holiday on the defensive end, I noticed things that stuck out for me. That he may not have had the numbers that were insane for this game, but I noticed a lot of little things, whether it be him guarding Embiid at times and making Embiid give up the ball, causing a turnover, or him hitting a bunch of floaters around the rim on Embiid, or him stepping out and hitting some 2 big threes in the fourth quarter. Like I whether it be like the whole game or whether he had a lot of numbers, I saw him come up big in little moments throughout the game. So
yeah, I will actually agree to disagree there. Like, I obviously know Giannis is a major mismatch for the Sixers as they currently stand. And we're going to get into that. But for me, my eye-opening moment here was that I think Harden's size is a big problem for Drew Holiday. A big problem. And actually kind of makes me feel okay about the Bucks, who have so much more length, so much more athleticism than this Sixers, which is their Achilles heel, as we've said many, many times. And I made just go back to the Boston Superfan comment. I made a conspiracy theory earlier that Doc Rivers is hiding this Joel Embiid, James Harden pick and roll because it was so good the first few games that we've seen it, that he's hiding the tape. He's like, no, we're going to run this to death throughout the playoffs. No one can see this, so no one can adapt or adjust to anything we have seen. Is that anything remotely close to being true, Justin?
I mean, let's be real. It's not like a pick and roll is something that a team has never seen before. So, no, that's not real. But it's an interesting thought, and if you want to be optimistic, well, I can pretend for a second to be optimistic that that's what Doc Rivers is doing, but I can almost assure you that it's not what he's doing.
All right. Let's roll on to, I think we got to talk about, I mean, it sucks because we just had an amazing Joel Embiid and James Harden game together. Mm-hmm. I think the obvious next, debate or topic is Doc Rivers and some of these calls that we saw. Is it Doc Rivers or is it the depleted roster? Because we saw him, throw DeAndre Jordan way further down the bench and go to Paul Millsap early on.
Was DeAndre Jordan out? Was he hurt or out for some reason, or did he just not play for?
I honestly have no clue.
I didn't see exact. Someone comment and let us know why DeAndre Jordan wasn't playing. I feel like it was for a legitimate reason, but I'm not sure.
With Gotti says Doc watched Paul Millsap get torched for 10 straight minutes. Put Paul Reed in. Like, there's no way anyone can tell me that Paul Reed would do worse than Paul Millsap in this situation. There's no way. I don't understand why just put Paul Reed in there. Even to go further, just like Sunday's game, if Devin Booker is in the game, why not put Matisse Thybulle in the game and just change things up, especially in that third, fourth quarter area where we know that Suns run is coming, when we know that Bucks run is coming, especially with the Sixers bench issues. What did Matisse Thybulle play in this game? Matisse Thybulle played 20 minutes, and I guarantee you his minutes in the second half were like this. Like, again, he played 3 minutes in the second half against the Suns, 18 minutes for Devin Booker in the second half on Sunday. Matisse Thybulle was nowhere to be found yet again. And I'm not saying that he should be defending Giannis. He has very little history defending Giannis. But is it more of a Sixers depleted roster issue, or is it Doc just, going to the good old boys and just not having answers?
I genuinely think some of the things that Doc is doing with the lineups is just trying to figure out what he wants to do right now, because that's what realistically you think about with the trades that were made at the deadline, with the certain parts of how the team's been going, whether it be the lack of length on the perimeter for the Sixers, whether it be the lack of shots made since Seth Curry's been gone at times. I think he might just be trying things. I think he knows what he has in certain players, and he's trying different lineups to see what he has in other things. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan has kind of shown what he is. Paul Millsap has shown what he is, I think, in a lot of ways as well. And Matisse Thybulle, it did surprise me that Matisse wasn't in this game at times, but then again, is Matisse Thybulle going to be the difference between Giannis running down your throat and just making shots at will? Probably not. And the only difference I could see is if it may be on Chris Middleton, but it's not like Chris Middleton was the one that won them this game at the end of it. It was Giannis. So I don't think you can be mad at that necessarily. I think the real issue here is the real issue here, honestly, is you just don't have the makeup to beat a team like that when Giannis is playing like that. You just don't. There's no one who can guard him besides Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid's got to do a lot on the offensive end. So do you really want Joel Embiid defending Giannis all the time? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not saying, that's pretty much your only answer there. But I'm not saying put Matisse on Giannis, but going into this game that the Bucks are one of the best fast break transition teams in the NBA. We saw it between Middleton and Giannis carving up the Sixers defense in transition again and again. What was the fast break points tonight? I'm going to look that up in a second. But, at least Matisse Thybulle will give you a chance. At least Thybulle will give you a chance. And we saw it, in the first quarter, Thybulle was deflecting passes left and right in this game. And he barely plays in the second half. Barely plays.
So fast break point
perimeter athleticism is so obvious. It's so obvious.
So fast break points weren't actually as really big of a difference as I thought they would be. It was only 20-11. So the Bucks had 20 fast break points to the Sixers 11. So I mean the Sixers also did a good job with not turning the ball over too much in this game, which obviously helps with those kinds of transition points for the Bucks. But it really wasn't a crazy uneven matchup. I mean, the Sixers bench outscored the Bucks bench 24-16. Fast break points was the only thing I'm seeing on here besides one extra block that the Bucks actually led them in this category. Okay, sorry. Fast break points and rebounds were the only two statistical categories that they led in, and field goal percentage. But 3-point percentage, free throws, assists, steals, bench points, largest lead, points. Oh, yeah. So it's just they had them in a lot of categories.
Yeah, this was a good Sixers game, man. I'm top to bottom. This is a good game. This is a very good game. Just one of those where you have Embiid and Harden leading the way. Tyrese Maxey was nowhere to be found. Tobias Harris had another very, very strong game here. Although he had that missed three there at the end, his wide open corner three. Just you got to hit that, bro. But let's go into some comments here. Steven says, I don't understand why Paul Reed can't come in for 5. I agree, man. I'm with you. Even Charles Bassey. I'm on the Charles Bassey train.
Well, Charles Bassey wasn't there at tonight, but I agree. And I do want to get into that a little bit just because it's something that I think we've all been questioning for a while, and it's been kind of confusing at times. I understand. I get the fact that Paul Reed is kind of a tweener. I get that. He's a 6'9", he's skinny, especially when you're going up against a Brook Lopez type team and a Bob I get it. But to me, when all that Paul Millsap was really doing for you in this game was just there to put a body in front of Giannis, I would have liked to see Paul Reed get some minutes just to see what he could have done. I mean, Paul Reed's come out in the past and say his favorite thing to do is guard Giannis because he thinks he loves playing up to the competition and everything like that, which I love to see. But yeah, being what Paul Reed looked like he was out on the court to do tonight, I think you easily could have given Paul Reed a chance to do that. I'm not the coach. I'm not an NBA basketball coach for a reason, and I'm not Doc Rivers. So who am I to say it? But that's just a thought that I have.
Yeah, I understand Andre Drummond was terrific as a backup for Embiid, but Bassey is right there, man. Bassey is exactly what you brought him in for, especially now with James Harden and his ability to roll to the basket. I don't understand. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
and
not.
that's another situation that I don't even know if that's necessarily Doc. I think that's a thing where they're trying to let that guy really just get time, understanding what kind of offense they want to run, and just getting some time to groom. Because he is a physical specimen. He can jump out of the gym. He can be that lob threat. He plays good defense. But I will say something that he has consistently had a hard time with at times in the G League is like just kind of being sloppy at times. He's kind of has the Dwight Howard hands sometimes where he just is kind of going all around. Mind you, great basketball player, and I think he could do a lot. Today, the Bluecoats played at 11 a.m. He had 4 blocks. So he's something. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. When I sit here and say that this team's going to look different next year, he's going to be one of those guys that's likely going to be in serious competition to be the backup big behind Joel Embiid. Now, mind you, we said that about Paul Reed last year and the year before that, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a different circumstance. Charles Bassey, and I said this before on a post-game show, but Charles Bassey is the makeup of a backup center that Doc Rivers wants to use with a James Harden. He is the ideal kind of player that you put there.
So, yeah, and everybody knows like the Sixers were like focused on getting James Harden too. Like I firmly believe like that guy was drafted with that intent.
Probably
like bringing guys back to the basket as well as Bassey has shown, like he is doing with the Bluecoats. Yeah. But anyway, some comments real quick. Then we're going to watch some highlights. We're going to change it up and react to some highlights. The talent and the coaching is just not good enough. When is the NFL draft again? Man, we are less than a month away, Quinn. I could not be more excited. Mango Gango says enough is enough. We're not going anywhere with Doc Rivers as head coach. Daryl says, why do we keep launching threes when we have double-digit leads? Death, taxes, and Sixers giving up leads, man. It is awesome. It is not awesome. I'm just kidding. Harden lost team at the end, off by a second. From Keith, Daryl says, hiding the offense. I wish the Sixers were that clever. Not. Yeah. You knew that Doc was not going to be able to call up a play there. Wow, we have a lot of Doc Rivers comments in the
we're always going to have a lot of Doc Rivers comments. It's as simple as this. This team is going to live and die by isolation basketball. We know this. It's obvious that when you have Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Doc Rivers as the coach, you are going to live and die by isolation basketball. Tonight, if James Harden hit two of those isolation threes to end the game, everyone would have been praising James Harden and this team. Tonight, if Joel Embiid hit that shot, hit two of the opportunities he had at the end of the game, everyone would have been praising this team and that Doc Rivers gave the ball to Joel Embiid or gave the ball to James Harden at the end of the game. This is what is going to happen. And you either have to live with it or die with it. As simple as that.
Okay, says a good coach understands that Reed is raw, but knows that he can offer rebounding, blocks, and switching on the perimeter. I fully agree, man. I feel like, especially that's like the biggest weakness on the Sixers roster right now, man.
Reed the problem, though. Reed also doesn't offer you consistency on the offensive end in short minutes. So far, that's what he's shown, and it's hard to keep a guy out there just for that kind of stuff if he's not giving you exponential defense like a Matisse Thybulle does. And that's the only thing I'll say about that. But that's also why I don't understand why you don't play him instead of Paul Millsap tonight, because that's really all he was being used for tonight.
Yeah. Keith says, why can't we just say Harden let the gas go in the fourth? I'm not going to complain about James Harden tonight, man. I saw this. We were complaining about James Harden, his lack of lift, beating guys off the dribble. I saw that tonight. It didn't happen in the fourth quarter, but I saw James Harden beat bigs, off switches. I thought James Harden had a terrific game, finished well in the paint. That's the James Harden we need. That's the James Harden we know and love. And I loved that sequence where he was pumping up Joel Embiid, and he got Embiid back in this game with like 7 straight buckets. Well, 7 straight. Yeah, I think it was 7 straight points right after that. He has 7 straight field goals from Joel Embiid. Quentin says, bottom line, Doc needs to play Reed and Bassey. Okay.
Here's the thing. Hold on real quick. Here's the thing. He said Doc needs to play Reed and Bassey. He has no choice. The problem is Doc does have a choice. He's got multiple choices on this team. And I forget who I think it was Harrison Grimm who said this maybe on Twitter, but it was like, he was like, I don't understand why the Sixers are using four slots on their roster. Charles Bassey, Andre Drummond, Paul Millsap, and Paul Reed, like, to really only play one of them usually. So it's like, it's a good question. Is why have so many options if you're not going to even entertain some of them?
Yeah. Stylist Washington says, hate to say it, but James Harden is a lazy defender and has low energy. I disagree. I thought this was the most energy we have seen from Embiid and Harden in one game in quite a while. That was not the take at all, at least on my end. Mango Gango says the fact that Bassey doesn't get a single look is an absolute travesty. Steven says Bassey has athleticism. Bassey seems to be more NBA ready than Reed. I fully agree with that. I think there's a clear NBA role for Bassey versus Reed.
I think you just threw in that NBA for some reason. He didn't even say NBA.
Oh, really? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. We're just going off comments right now. Stylist says, I think Morey has to take control and just cut Paul and Jordan for Doc's hand. I don't know what
that's a great idea. Let's cut both one veteran that came along in a trade and cut another veteran that was brought over specifically to play backup center. That's a great idea.
All right. So what do you say, Sam Cassell? I think that's like an interesting discussion right there. We'll get into that for another show for sure. But let's try something new. Let's react to some highlights and see where this goes. I don't know if the stream gets shut down. Who the hell cares, to be honest? But it's going to be fun. This is highlights of the game. Here we go. Sixers, win the tip-off here. What was your kind of like mental state going into the first quarter? Like, for me, it was Harden finishing at the rim. For me, it was, can the Sixers slow down the Bucks, with their amazing transition game? That's all I was thinking about. But what about you?
Yeah, in the first quarter, it was just like, okay, Embiid's playing like shit. What are we gonna do? What is Doc's move gonna be? What is James Harden gonna be? Are they gonna pick up for Embiid's faults in this first half? And that's the one thing I saw tonight is Harden picked up what Embiid couldn't put down tonight, at least in the first half of this game. Giannis as well, just his bag has gotten so deep. It's insane. The fadeaway he was hitting today, my Lord, as well as some pull-ups and just scary. And honestly, there were times in the first quarter where I was like, okay, this game might be done. This game might turn into exactly what the Nets game looked like right after the trade for James Harden. But you know what? They stuck through it and they made it a game, and it was fun to watch, even with the loss. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, James Harden started out the game with 7 points, 3 of 3 from the field. Embiid struggled getting good looks early. Chris Middleton was absolutely on fire with 9 points.
Yep.
The Bucks were just killing it between him and Middleton and Giannis. So yeah, it was a tough first quarter. I mean, the Sixers were losing, I think, 27-24. Embiid had 2 points in 10 minutes, 1 of 6 from the field. But James Harden was absolutely terrific in that first quarter. But going into the second, the Sixers, let's watch some highlights.
Yeah, I think a big thing with the second, which is the second in general, was Tyrese Maxey did kind of show some value in this game at that point. I believe he hit the three. He got some assists, got this nice transition bucket right here.
Love that.
That's one thing I tweeted out after this happened. Like, the kinds of things Tyrese Maxey can do with his body is absolutely insane. Like,
yeah, him in transition is absolutely electric, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he can, in his second year, really can like just contort his body in any way possible, at any angle, anywhere around the rim, and you really don't think you really think it's going in. Like, it's crazy to think. And I for some reason I compare it to Ben Simmons sometimes, where it's like around the rim play, that Maxey is so much smaller than him. And I feel like whenever Maxey's going to the rim, I feel like it's going to go in. And whenever Ben Simmons is going to the rim, I was like, okay, there's a high probability he misses this shot. Which is, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
All right, so Maxey gets the ball with 6:06 on the clock. It takes him like 4 seconds to get to the rim, man. The dude is so electric on the fast break, man. So we're going to see more here. I love this pass. By the way, Joel Embiid made some amazing passes in this game. What did Joel Embiid finish with assists? Because he had 7 assists. Joel Embiid had 7 assists. He made one pass to Danny Green in the corner. That was a dime. It was a freaking dime. Here's another great feed to Tobias Harris. Finds him in rhythm for 3. Great find. Joel Embiid was getting double and triple teamed all game long, and just was – the shots weren't falling, but he nailed it, man. I love this pass from Harden to Matisse Thybulle in transition. Nice outlet pass. So here we go. Second quarter. James Harden finds Joel Embiid for 3. And this is that 3 I told you guys about, where James Harden, you can look at him in the back. He was like – I love it. I actually have that. I wonder if I can bring that up here. Let's keep watching. So far, we haven't been shut down, which is a plus.
Need a plus.
Right, we're in the second quarter, and Joel Embiid just takes off here. Like, Joel Embiid starts between here and the third quarter, hits 7 straight field goals. 7 straight field goals. This was – I love that energy between Harden and Embiid, and that is everything. That is everything. So I'm going to stick by my conspiracy theory that we're not seeing more pick and roll from Embiid and Harden, because Doc's not trying to give out tape to all these playoff teams, because that is everything in terms of getting others free buckets to the cutting to the basket, like Matisse, or getting to the free throw line. That is everything for the Sixers offense. So the Sixers offense, that is everything to the Sixers playoff chances.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens, because that pick and roll, if it's run correctly and run well, it really does get Embiid, typically, at least if they're kind of more doubling Harden, it really does get Embiid good positioning, and either gets him rolling to the rim hard, or sets him up for an easy free throw shot, which Embiid hits probably 50% of them. So definitely, and maybe even more than 50% of the time. So definitely nice to see that.
This should be the entire Sixers offense. Like, you cannot stop this. Switch, and then run this to death in the playoffs. James Harden finds Embiid rolling to the basket.
See, the key to be able to run in that in the playoffs, though, is you have to have Maxey and Tobias hitting their threes, or Maxey and Matisse hitting their threes on the corner. And, I mean, tonight, if you genuinely think about it, Maxey, I think we said this before coming onto the show, but Maxey played 39 minutes tonight and had 7 points. He was 3 for 11 from he was 3 for 11 from the field, and he did show, like, have his moments, and he did have 6 assists, which is obviously still amazing, but you need him to be hitting shots. You need that, especially when you're going up against the Bucks, where when you have, Chris Middleton doing his thing from deep, when you have Drew Holiday doing his thing from the perimeter, as well as Brook Lopez going 4 for 9 from 3. So you need those 3-point shots to go.
All right, so here's where the moment where Embiid is taken out of this game and the Bucks are getting ready for their run. The Sixers are up 85-72. 85-72. Keep that in mind. It's just like clockwork. Embiid comes out of the game and is a tractor beam for Giannis at the rim, man. Tough. But anyway, here we see Giannis dribbling up the court, hits a three as predicted. 10-point game, end of the third quarter. Giannis runs down the court. No one can keep up with him whatsoever. I mean, everyone in the NBA can't keep up with that guy.
And that's one thing I will say, I know obviously we're sitting here saying, okay, Doc Rivers, why aren't you trying Paul Reed guarding Giannis? And although I want to see that and I wish we saw that tonight, I also understand that I'm not sitting here saying that Paul Reed's going to be the difference against Giannis, and that's going to be why you win this game. It's more just okay, why not? If you already have an old traffic cone out there, why not try to put a young one out there and just see what you get from him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Quinn says teams will crowd the lane in the playoffs versus the pick and roll. Steven says, can someone explain why Harden is still working on conditioning? I mean, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much that's, gotten better or worse. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's at the rim shooting, but it's also been really bad with Brooklyn. So I don't know how long this hamstring injury has been prolonged. But there is that. There is definitely that. But I mean, he is playing a lot of minutes, right?
Yeah, I think the still working on conditioning thing is just something that, think about. I don't even know how to explain it. So genuinely, if you look at pictures of James Harden now and look at him when he was with the Rockets, when he had the highest usage historically of anybody, you can just how vascular and just trimmed out this guy was at that time was absolutely ridiculous. So I don't hopefully he can at some point get to that. I think you may see that in him next year. Or maybe not that exactly, but close to that next year. But we'll see.
Sam says, do you think Joel will still get the MVP?
No.
Or has it shifted to Jokic or Giannis? Any thoughts on that, man?
I think the only way Embiid gets the MVP right now is if he just absolutely just goes off to end the season. I that's the only way I see it happening at this point. He's got to propel the Sixers to being the number one seed.
They have to be the one seed.
Yeah, something like that, because just I get Jokic is obviously very good. Jokic is an insanely good basketball player, and I know everyone's going to argue the metrics, but you saw the votes today that ESPN put out. Who knows if that's legitimate or if it's going to end up being that way or rolling that way. But I generally think the only way it differs is if Embiid just has a heck of an end of the season. So yeah.
Pedro says a big concern of our losses is to contenders such as the Suns, Bucks, Raptors, Nuggets, and Nets. Mango Gango says this will hurt our chances. Shannon says 5 minutes of Paul Reed is the difference.
No. No.
We need a lot of shooting and athleticism as well. Kane says Bassey and Reed should have been getting minutes all year. I agree with that. I agree there should have been a long-term picture with this team. Doc just doesn't have that.
So
there's so much evidence of that.
So how are we going to sit here and say that Bassey and Reed should have been getting minutes all year when prior to the James Harden trade, you have Andre Drummond backing up Joel Embiid? If you have Andre Drummond on this team, Andre Drummond is, when he was, getting big minutes on the team, was a legitimate all-star, was a legitimate rebounding champ, all kinds of stuff that would deem him the reason to be the backup center. Andre Drummond's your backup center if he's on this team. Let's make that clear right now. Bassey, I completely understand not getting minutes. And Paul Reed, when all season you have George Niang shooting the way he is from the outside and being that he's obviously the choice you want to put alongside Joel Embiid at that backup power forward center, at that backup power forward spot, it just doesn't make any sense. Reed, as good as he is in certain ways, is not better than Niang when it comes to catch and shoot threes. And catch and shoot threes is a big thing that you need around your stars on this team, obviously. So I don't even think that should be an argument. I think in a different we talk about this all year. In a different scenario, if Paul Reed's on a different team where your top paid player isn't Tobias Harris and your best player isn't a center, he's gonna play likely. But that's not the situation. That's why we've said Paul Reed is probably gonna get traded at some point, and he's probably gonna play really well for another team. But that's just what it is.
I just think there should have been a larger picture, just like we saw Isaiah Joe plays 1 or 2 games, albeit like he didn't play well. To be fair, Isaiah Joe hasn't played well at all, given the opportunity. But the leash is just this much. It's just this much. But the thing that I go back to is like knowing what you got with DeAndre Jordan, knowing how much that killed the Sixers in the playoffs last 2 years, like not having that backup in that 5 to 10 minutes, that stretch just completely decimates your chances. It really does. And for me, it's not Paul Reed. For me, it's Bassey. I think Charles Bassey is everything that you probably could mold into something by now. Like by now, I'm not saying playing him over Andre Drummond, but by now you're starting to get him some time and getting him acclimated. That's my only take.
Yeah, I don't fully disagree with you on that. I think coming into this year, if you weren't able to get an Andre Drummond, I think you probably do see Bassey a little bit more. But I also think that like we're sitting here talking about how Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers have both talked about it ad nauseum of how when Embiid wants to be able to come out of the game for just a few minutes in the playoffs and have a guy, be able to be okay defensively. That's all he wants. So if you're not able to get an Andre Drummond, if you're not able to get a DeAndre Jordan, I could completely see Charles Bassey maybe getting a shot at some minutes there just because of the defensive possibilities and defensive prowess he's shown in the G League. But it's tough. We've talked about it ad nauseum on our shows. Doc Rivers doesn't trust rookies unless they're playing out of their mind.
By the way, how great was this play? One of my favorite Joel Embiid plays of the year right here. Is that on Brook Lopez? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. Yep.
Just an MVP type of play.
You saw Brook Lopez, too. Brook Lopez was like, damn, he got me. Like, he was like, he's like, yep. He's like just watch the clip all the way through. You could see Brook Lopez. Did I go way far back?
Here we go. Yeah, that was just an awesome moment in this game. It's a great game. Absolutely great game.
I agree.
But this was like, if the Sixers had won this game, that post up, back down on Brook Lopez would have been like one of the plays, the memorable moments of this game. I don't know if we missed it or what. I think we went back.
It's all right.
Let's just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling. Another tough loss to a good team. I fully agree, man. The Sixers played well. It didn't happen, but we're all right. We're all right. The Sixers are no joke. The Raptors are no joke. I would hate to play the Raptors in the playoffs. Absolutely hate it. That's a team I do not want to play. There it is. There's the back down from Embiid for the W, or not for the. There's the back down from Embiid for the bucket. Love that play. I put that on my Twitter account. It didn't work out, but I was going to retweet that the second the Sixers won this game. Here's a step back by James Harden to make it a 4-point game with 5 minutes remaining. 4 minutes remaining, 3-point game. Is this the Drew three-pointer? Oh, it's a little runner on Joel Embiid.
That's what I'm saying. That like he had those little plays.
Here we go. George Niang time. Hits a 3, make it a 2-point game with 3 minutes remaining.
Drew Holiday's coming back down the court. Is this when he hits the 3 here? Or no, this is when the lob. Yep.
Yeah.
See, okay. Here, pause real quick. So the play before this, that lob was when Drew Holiday was at the top of the top of the key with Joel Embiid and forced a turnover. Forced a turnover where Joel tried to pass out to James Harden when he had Drew Holiday at the top of the key. That's the kind of just straight value that Drew Holiday brings to a basketball team. Is he's able to guard a 7-foot center who's one of the best centers in the league, and then go on the other end and throw a lob to Giannis and hit a floater and hit a three at the end of the game. Like it's that kind of stuff you want on a basketball team.
Edge of Philly Sports says, outside the Bulls and Cavs, what other team do you want to see? I've said this on the show. Like, that's literally the two teams I want to see the Sixers play in the playoffs. Obviously not the Bucks. Obviously, I think Miami might be a little meh. I think I would take on Miami, but I don't want Toronto. I don't want the Bucks. I'll take on Miami right now with all the dysfunction going on right now. And Jimmy Butler, go to hell.
Yeah, apparently people weren't playing hard enough. So, we don't know about that. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I feel like, oh man, what a nice shot. I don't know. What's this one? Is Giannis just gonna? Oh yeah, see here.
Another pull up.
Crazy, man. See, that's what I'm saying. He was hitting from everywhere.
Yeah, it was a great. Giannis has been cooking, man. He's so good. Nice.
There's one of those shots that if Embiid hits that, everyone's like, oh, the isolation ball. I mean, obviously Tobias tipped it in, but like Embiid was just not hitting shots at the end of this game.
Yeah. Here's that Drew 3-pointer. That was a huge shot.
Yep.
Huge shot for the Bucks.
Yep.
Make it a 4-point game.
James Harden.
And then here comes Joel Embiid with another MVP statement saying, not today, son. Not today.
Yep.
1-point game with 49 seconds remaining. Is this just a bet? This was after a timeout, too.
Yep.
Oh, no. Hold on. Oh, no. There we go.
See, here's the thing.
Sure, this next play came after a Tobias Harris steal. And this was after a timeout, right, Justin?
I believe so. So I will say, let's think about this. Let's go back. Can you go back at all a little bit to just discuss this play?
It's really touchy.
Yeah. So let's think about this. On this play, if we want to call it a play, James Harden screens Brook Lopez to get Brook Lopez off of Joel and get a smaller Drew Holiday on him. It's Joel Embiid's job at this point to get the best shot he can on that smaller defender. So he gives up his dribble and decides to fade away. If he holds that dribble, likely there's a chance he can get down in the paint. Now, mind you, Giannis is there and Brook Lopez is probably going to crash on him as well. But I think there's a better shot you can find there. And I mean,
there's a guy just standing out. I mean, look at just Niang and Maxey just in a cluster, just kind of hanging out there.
Let's remember, here's the thing. At the end of the game, this is what it's going to look like. When the Sixers need a bucket, it's going to be isolation shots from Joel and James Harden. That's just what it's going to be. You're going to have to live with that. Mind you, you could argue that both Maxey and they're all there.
Look at Niang, Maxey, and Tobias all within 10 feet of each other.
Yeah, but then look at Giannis's. Like, are you saying because you want them to like get the ball to them, or you say like what are you trying to say?
No, it's just funny looking. Yeah,
it is funny looking. I agree. I don't know.
It just sucks.
Yep.
They need shooters so bad.
They have shooters, man. It's just here's the thing: they're not going to pass the ball in these shots. Like it's not going to happen.
All right, Giannis misses the free throw here. So far our show hasn't been shut down, which is pretty interesting. And there you go. And it's a goaltending. Who's your player of the game, man?
Player of the game. I'm gonna go Giannis. I think it's an easy one, obviously, and it's the other team, but Giannis is was playing out of his mind tonight. We said it multiple times going through this footage. Giannis was hitting threes, step backs, fadeaways, dunking on top of people, everything you could imagine Giannis was doing tonight. my God, is he so good? The kind of work he's done to be as good as he is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's a good selection. I'm gonna go off the cuff here. I'm gonna go to Tobias. Tobias Harris, man, I've killed him a lot this year. I've been so hard on him. Pretty unfairly, I agree. And he has been balling. He has definitely been balling. He had a really good game tonight. He had 22 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. Probably lost in this entire game between, beasts of the East will be Tobias Harris's game. And I'm going to use this opportunity to give Tobias some love because he has definitely been a lot more efficient offensively. I'm not saying he's going to fix the Sixers' issues whatsoever. What I am saying is the Sixers could live with this, and he's not the problem. I don't think he's a problem. Like Doc throwing Tobias against Giannis, that's another podcast in itself.
I think the kinds of things they could use that his contract could kind of be paying for is more the problem.
I agree.
And it's with the cap, with how the cap in the NBA works. Tobias Harris is making $36 million. If you allocate that to some defense, to some defense, perimeter length, and a 3-point shooter, his value is just not as I
agree. The Sixers need role players. The Sixers need perimeter defenders. The Sixers need, a stretch 4, stretch 5. They need guys that can fit right next to like Charles Bassey, James Harden, Joel Embiid. But we'll see. That's a conversation for this offseason. But Quentin says player of the game is Chris Rock. Kept his cool and finished out after what happened, man. I thought Will Smith was Muhammad Ali, man. Will Smith definitely kind of gained some weight or lost it over the years because Ali just doesn't have it anymore. Chris Rock responded right from that slap and was right back at it. And Chris Rock, I respect Chris Rock for staying in control because you don't fuck with Chris Rock. Chris Rock, if you get him going, he is like one of the biggest killers in the comedy game. He will destroy you, and he reined it in really well. But I don't want to talk about that. We're not going to go there. All right, let's wrap it up. Justin, where can we find you, man?
Man, you can go find me on Twitter at J_Persichetti. Just search up my name, Justin Persichetti. You can find it. Not many people named Justin Persichetti in this world, I'll be honest. So if you search it up, it's going to pop up. You'll see it, I promise. But yeah, go give me a follow on there. Blue Coats updates. Blue Coats had a game tonight. Charles Bassey did not play super well offensively, but did have 4 blocks in the night. Sadly, they did lose. But, G League isn't always about W's. It's about growth and player development and coaching development and all other development. So, if you start watching Charles Bassey, start watching the Blue Coats, you might be seeing some rising stars down there. So definitely go check it out.
Absolutely. Sixers take on the Pistons on Thursday. We'll be back. I will be after that. I am off the grid. I am doing my first best man speech for Coyle. You know Coyle, right?
Yeah, of course, Chris.
His second wedding because of the COVID issue last November.
Nice.
So I'm doing my first best man speech this weekend. So we'll be back on Thursday. But after that, I'm off the grid.
That better be filmed and put up on the channel. I gotta see that.
We'll see. I'm pretty happy about it. I'm gonna kill him, man. I'm gonna kill him.
Nice.
It's a giant roast. But my top 10 interior offensive lineman video drop today as well. I've only got tackles left in this draft, so I'll be dropping those. But tons and tons of NFL draft content coming. Several days.
How many players have you scouted now?
Yeah, I'm at 122.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'm at 122.
Insane.
Yeah, this is by far the most in-depth draft I've had in recent years, This is the biggest Eagles draft in a long,
Yeah.
long time,
It's
man.
not very often that the Philadelphia Eagles have 3 first-round picks, so understandably so.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one. And the interior offensive line is really good. It's a really good class. Check it out. If I'm not saying I would do it.
I'll watch it.
I'm not saying I would do it, but you know how we will be foaming at the mouth to take an interior offensive lineman in that day 2 range. Because there's some good ones. There's some really, really good ones.
It's going to be interesting. And the Sixers, the Eagles have done a good job at taking some late offensive linemen, at least as of late. Weirdly enough, they can't take an offensive lineman in the first round that does very well recently, but they get him in the 7th and the 2nd. That's what I'm realizing. They get him between in that range.
Wow, they could put Justin next to Jeff Stoutland, and Jeff Stoutland would make Justin an All-Pro.
I don't know. I don't think I have the facilities for that. There's a meme out there. So I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man. Like I don't really have the body mass to be able to block a 6'5", 6'3" defensive end coming at me. It's a little scary. I think I'm gonna stay in the chair. I'm gonna talk about them rather than I'm good.
All right. Party Umbrella will be dropping tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Moon Knight reviews will be going down at 8 o'clock tomorrow as well. So I got back-to-back shows tomorrow night. Cannot wait for Moon Knight. That is going to be an awesome, awesome show. There's so much positive buzz about it going around right now. Follow my man Justin on Twitter at J_Persichetti. I am Dibes.
Go follow him.
Nah.
Well, him as well. Him.
All right. For Justin, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.